Sabi ng Honda. Ganyan talaga siya. It comes with the age na po. Wala ko.
Okay, hey class, can you hear me?
Rinig po sir.
Okay, let's start. So, this is my dapat. $50. So, let's take the attendance po muna. Ay. Okay. Pabatay. Pablasa.
Pablasa po, present.
Okay. Alano.
Alano po, present.
Alarcon.
Alarcon po, present.
Alabanzas.
Alabanzas po, present.
Apuyan. Apuyan. Aranas.
Aranas po, present.
Arenal.
Arenal po, present.
Austria. Borromeo.
Present po, Borromeo.
Bustamante.
Bustamante, present.
Cornejo.
Corneo po, present.
Corpus.
Corpus po, present.
Cruz.
Cruz po, present.
Cruzado.
Cruzado po, present.
Darong.
Darong, present po.
De Leon.
De Leon po, present.
Fortaleza.
Fortaleza po, present.
Gamusan.
Present po, sir, Gakusan.
Okay. Banton. Gumiran.
Bumiran po, present.
Walo. Lanuevo.
Present po, Lanuevo.
Legarde.
Present po, Legarde.
Yander.
Yander po, present.
Lumakang.
Present po, Lumakang.
Masangkay.
Present po, Masangkay sir.
Mauna. Nadianyo.
Present po, Mindanyo.
Munda. Nabasca. Nabasca, present. Sige po. Palomares.
Palomeras po, present.
Palomeras, sorry. Panganiban.
Panganiban po, present.
Pasiliao.
Pasilia po, present.
Nabasca po, present, sir.
Pelias Dieter. Raka. Rada. Okay. Ramos.
Ramos po, present.
Rayoner, Rayoner, Reveresa, Reveresa, Reyes, Reyes, Rile, Rile, Romero, Romero, San Gabriel,
Present po, San Gabriel.
Zelda, Zelda,
Present po, Zelda.
Soriano, Soriano,
Sir na po, sir.
Suson,
Susan po, present.
Tuanyo,
Tuanyo present.
Valencia, Valencia,
Sir, present po.
Ventura, Ventura, okay. So, good afternoon, class. It's Valentine's Day. So, may mga date ba kayo after ng class?
Sir, abate po present, kakapasok lang po.
Okay, sige. Batay.
Opo, sir.
Okay.
Tsaka mauna po, sir. Matay po kasi yung laptop.
Nauna. Okay. Just set up the presentation and we can actually begin. Can you see my screen? Hello po? Confirm naman po kung nakikita po.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we are done. We are done with the network layer. Wait lang po. Okay. Let's start. So we're done with the network layer. So we're moving to the application layer. So when we say application layer, it's not the application layer is not an application. So remember how we're talking of protocols. We're talking of layers. We're talking of the layers of the TCP/IP model. So the application layer is not an application. So it is a layer to build up protocol compliant and provide services. So when we say it provides services to the network layer. Sorry. Okay. The application layer also comprises of multiple functionality which relate to different application. So when we say different application, these are the following. So for example, if we're using a web browser, the function of that application is to serve the web. So the supporting application layer protocol is HTTP or the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. And if it is using a secure socket, the supporting application protocol is SSL, Secure Socket Layer. So if the application is using a secure socket layer, magiging Hypertext Transfer Protocol secure lang, may S. So HTTP is built into the web browser. So if we again web browser that uses a Steam Flash Video, ang gamit niyang supporting application layer protocol is RTMP. So ito yung real-time messaging protocol. Video kasi siya eh. So itong gamit natin ngayon, itong ating video conference system is using a real-time messaging protocol. Kasi real time video ang ginagamit niya. If you are using Adobe Flash, other video conference system like Zoom, Meet, and Microsoft Teams uses different application layer protocol. Okay, for YouTube video, HTTP live streaming, HLS. So, HTTP over live ang ano niya. So, it stream over the browser. So it's a live streaming. So usually it uses the UDP protocol, so user datagram protocol. Okay, for email client, so it will be used to send and receive emails. So there are several application layer protocol that email is using. Either you're using SMTP, POP3, or IMAP. So for SMTP, it is used for outgoing email. For POP3 or IMAP, for incoming email. So those two protocols by the application layer is being utilized by one application. Okay, for file transfer client like FileZilla and ServerDoc, it uses a file transfer protocol. So FTP. So yung mga FTP application, yung mga file transfer application natin uses FTP protocol. So if you look at different application, ito counting list pa lang to, but these are the most common application na ginagamit natin. But other application, yung Word nyo, yung Excel nyo, if those are using the internet, kasi ngayon, di ba, sa Microsoft, meron ng Microsoft Online. So, you can edit your documents online. Hindi niyo na kailangan ng installed application. So, doon, meron din ibang application layer protocol na ginagamit. Okay. So, a quick insight for 2022 data. So, for iOS App Store, there are 1.8 million applications. So, ang dami na talaga. For Google Play Store, there are 2.56 million applications. Okay, for smartphone user global number, it's 3.5 billion. So, almost, ano na, ano ba ang total ano natin ngayon? Population, 2022. Let's see ha. Search natin. Okay, for 2020 data, tignan natin ito may latest. Ayan, meron. Sa 2021. For 2021 data, world population is 7.87 billion. So if we look at this data for 2022 data, smartphone user global number is 3.5. So we're almost half ng total population ay gumagamit ng smartphone. So for the application download statistics, 142.9 billion apps and games were downloaded in 2020. So 142.9 billion yan na application. So kung ilan yung users natin nag-download sa Google Play Store or nag-download sa iOS App Store. Okay? Out of the 142 billion, 56.1 billion were games and 86.7 billion were application. So nakita natin na talagang ano na, we can see that application itself masyado ng ano, saturated. And most smartphones are being installed with games or application. Nakita na natin yung from the simple phone na text and call, from browsing, then you will run your application vertically on phone na. Okay, about the Philippines. Roughly 80% of the Filipinos are on social media. So, question, sa inyo, sino yung mayroong Instagram, Facebook, at TikTok sa kanilang mga telepono?
Halos lahat naman po ata.
Yun. So, meron kayo, di ba? Either one or all, di ba? 1, 2, or all. So, about 152.4 million mobile connection larger than our population. Kasi 101 lang tayo eh. Kung hindi ako nagkakamali for 21 data. So, 110.8 million for 2021 statistics. Okay. It's larger than our population, 152.4. So, out of that, 2021 data, most downloaded application is TikTok, Facebook and Messenger, Shopee, Gcash, Zoom, Google Meet, Lazada, and Instagram. So, bakit ba tumaas tayo noong 2021? Any idea kung bakit tayo tumaas ang ating downloaded application during 2021?
Dahil sa pandemic, sir.
Quarantine, sir.
Yes.
Pandemic po. Sir.
Yes. Yes, that's correct. Because of the pandemic, nagkaroon tayo ng surge either on social media app or fintech app and online shopping apps. So, lumakas yung ni Gcash, lumakas yung traffic ni Paymaya, at mas lalong tumaas ang traffic ni Facebook, ni Shopee, tsaka ni Lazada, at ni TikTok. Kasi mostly na nangyayari ngayon is ang ating mga kabataan or the young ones are using social media as a way of stress reliever. So, marami talaga. Okay, what are the issues solved by the application layer? We have 3. Architecture styles. So on architecture styles, it can be utilized for a pure client server or peer-to-peer or hybrid or application of both. For addressing how remote entities of a network application communicates, that's addressing, and service models. So when we say service models, it provides services to the running application. So for the application layer, we have 3 architecture styles, addressing, and service models. So let's discuss. For application architecture, we have 3: the client server model, the peer-to-peer, and the hybrid. So let's discuss first the client server. So the client server is the long-standing architecture model for internet application. So when we say long-standing, ito na yung naging simula pa noon. So when DARPA created its own network, the ARPANET, mayroong client, may server. Yun na yung kanilang naging network. So there is an always-on server. When we say there is an always-on server, the communication between the client and the server is not hampered. So the server must always be on for this application to run. Has access to resources such as computing, memory, and storage. So kung yung server is always on, your computing, your memory, and your storage is always accessed, or the resources must always be available. Kung yan naubusan ng computing, your application will suffer. There will be intermittent connection, or the processing of your application for requests from the client will be intermittent, or there will be long processing. Nagiging naglalag ang iyong client accessing your application. Okay, you have huge client server traffic. So malaki yung traffic kasi always on siya. So you're always using the three-way handshake. Kasi dapat laging nagkakaroon ng connection si client kay server. So for example, nito yung ating ginagamit na Facebook. Facebook has an always on server. Kung meron man niyang redundancy, for example, Facebook has its main data center on the US, and it has a redundant server or a near server facility. Sabihin na natin dito sa may Singapore. When we say near server facility, it's like a proxy server na kung ano yung data na meron dun sa Singapore na may mirror dun sa ano. Wait, I will share my other screen. I-explain lang natin. Share ko lang sandali isang screen. Kita po? Kita po yung screen ko? Yung black screen?
Kita po,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Kita na po.
So when we say a client server model, so you have a server here. So this is your server that is connected to multiple clients. Okay. So those clients are directly connected to your server. Okay. Now, the application running on this server is on and always on server. So continuous yung working neto. Walang tigil tong server na yan. If there is a, sabihin na natin, huge client traffic, nagkakaroon ka ngayon ng bottleneck sa connection dito sa iyong server. Okay. To prevent that bottleneck, ang ginagawa ng mga owners ng mga application na yan, they are doing parang proxy server or close-in server dun sa mga countries. So, for example, you have a server in the US and you have a server in the Philippines. And you have a server, wala pala dito ang Facebook. Singapore na lang. Singapore. So that's near country server ang tawag sa kanya. So client which are located in the US will definitely connect to the US server. But client located at Asia will not connect to the US server, but will connect to the nearest server, which is Singapore. Pero ang main server natin for Facebook is located at the US. Ang ginagawa ngayon ng mga application developer na yan, or yung mga owners ng mga application na yan, is mini-mirror nila kung ano yung laman ng server na to papunta sa Singapore. Okay? So, ang nangyayari ngayon, you are preventing bottleneck doon sa main US server mo. Kasi ito lang ang magiging connection ngayon ng server mo sa Singapore. Then, multiple clients from the Asia and the Pacific will connect to the nearest server, which is Singapore. Ganun yung nangyayari for a client-server model. Actually, US and Singapore server is acting also as a client-server model. This is your server. This is your client. Tama? Nakakuha? Hello, class? Hello po?
Hello po.
Nakakuha po? Okay. And once a client connects to the Singapore server, this acts as the server, and the client server architecture goes on. So, okay, ganyan ha. Pero paano ngayon nalalaman ni client from the Philippines na kailangan niya mag-connect dito sa server with Singapore? Okay? That's the use of DNS. Ngayon, pag nakita ni DNS na ang client na to, IP neto, ay from the Philippines, the information will be redirected doon sa Singapore, hindi doon sa US. Okay? Ibang application din si DNS. I don't know kung madadaanan natin siya ngayon kasi dapat siya is a separate separate class kasi dapat or separate subject yung mga services within the internet. Okay? Let's stop sharing. Balik ko dito sa aking main screen. Sorry kasi yung application, yung drawing pad ko nandun sa iPad eh. Wala dito sa hindi kasi touchscreen. Napalipat-lipat tayo. Okay, do you have any more questions sa ating client server before we move on? Kung wala na, okay, let's proceed.
Wala pa, sir.
So next is a peer-to-peer model. So on the application architecture, we have a peer-to-peer model. So no always-on server process and peers is required. Peers can also change IP address. Kasi sa client server natin, your server side must not change IP address. Kasi yun yung nakalagay sa DNS. Depending kung meron kang multiple IP address na nakalagay sa isang proxy server na in which that proxy server is facing the internet. So the proxy server acts as a parang router mo. Meron kang virtual IP doon sa proxy na yon, na yun yung nakapresent sa internet, in which pag nakita nila yung proxy na yon, si proxy server siya yung magre-redirect kung saan server ka ibabato, kung you have a multiple server. Okay, it uses a list of IP address that are potentially online, and it uses a process of ping-pong to make connection. Sino na nakagamit sa inyo ng mga torrent? Most likely marami na nakagamit sa inyo. So torrent is a peer-to-peer model in which pag nag-download ka ng movie application or anything sa net using a torrent application, ang nangyayari, nagda-download ka pero nagsisid ka rin sa iba. So that's a peer-to-peer. Your computer is peering to another computer dahil dun sa dina-download. Ang nangyayari, you are pointed to the mirror site ng application or ng movie. Dinownload mo siya, nag-initiate ka. pero hindi naka-on yung server na yon, yung mirror site na yon. Ang mangyayari ngayon, uses the process of ping-pong to make connection. Hahanap ka ngayon ng available resources or available na computer na naka-on, na nagsisid na siya. So, ang nangyayari, pag nakita niya na itong IP na to ay nagsisid, mag-i-start ka na ngayon maki-peer sa kanya. Ipipeer ka na niya ngayon doon sa computer na yun. Then, you will be downloading the information from the computer na nagsisid na yun. And the IP address is not, it uses a list of IP address that are potentially online. So kasi di ba pag nagsisid ka, kukuhanin nila yung IP address mo, ilalagay ka nila sa mga seeders. So hahanap ngayon doon kung kanino ka makaka-peer. Okay? And yun nga yung process of ping-pong. So pag tumigil to, kunyari, first computer mo tumigil na, hahanap ngayon ulit siya ng panibagong ka-peer para magtuloy yung download mo, o ipopong ka niya. Pag sumagot ka, so magpipeer rin kayo. So doon mo na siya ulit ina-download. So that's continuous peer-to-peer connection. Okay. There is also an architecture called the hybrid model. So, okay. Let's check again. So, ano na hybrid application? Ganito yung sa hybrid application. So, you have multiple servers which are on servers. And you have multiple clients. So the process in which a hybrid application works, ngayon, ang gagawin niya, gagamitin niya pa rin yung ping-pong process. Ipiping niya to, yung unang server. Pag hindi sumagot si unang server, ipiping niya ulit yung pangalawang server. Then, ipiping niya yung pangatlo. At ipiping niya yung pang-apat. So, kung sumagot si pang-apat, siya yung magpopong. So, the connection is started. So, may connection ka na rito. So, ganun din yung iba. Pag nag-ping dito, sumagot, so may pong ka na. Pag ito, tinanong niya, hindi sumagot, tatanungin niya ulit yung iba, sumagot. Then, ganun dito. So, once there is a connection established on a hybrid model, that connection will be persistent. So, pag persistent na siya, dire-diretso na yung connection mo doon. Hindi na yan katulad ng hybrid, ng peer-to-peer, na pag ito namatay, lilipat siya rito. No. On a hybrid model, meron ka pa rin mga on servers, o always on servers, in which once a connection is established, that connection remains persistent. Hindi na siya mawawala. Hindi dapat siya mamamatay. Kasi pag namatay yan, yung client na yon na nakakonect sa kanya, mawawala ng connection sa application. So, ganun ha. So, for a hybrid application, it uses the ping-pong process pa rin. But once the connection has been established, the connection will stay persistent. Hindi siya mawawala, hindi siya mamamatay. Pag namatay siya, mawawala yung connection ng client na yon doon sa server. Okay? Continue. Okay. The next issue addressed by the application layer is addressing. So when we say addressing, it's the ability of application to uniquely refer to relevant network resources. So when we say uniquely refer, depending on what setup you have, kung IPv4 ka or IPv6, yun yung IP address na ibibigay sa'yo. Yun will be, that resources or that addressing will be referred to you as a network resource. Okay, the uniform resource locator is a compact string of characters for identifying abstract or physical resources. So basically, we have four parts for URL. Method, host, port, or path. O hindi pala or path, and path. Method, host, port, and path. Okay. For the URL fields, the method indicates the protocol. Either it will be an HTTP, HTTPS, FTP, secure FTP. So that identify what method you are going to use. Okay. For the host, where is the resource located? This will be identified by your IP address. Okay. Share ulit ako. Sige, tapusin muna natin. Then the port number of the destination, in which the port number of your destination will also refer to the method you are using. Okay? The port number will be referred to the method. Laging yun yung ano niya ha. And the path. Yung path, kung saan nyo nakalocated yung file. Okay. For example, we are going to Facebook. So our method is HTTPS. Okay, that's our method. Okay. www.facebook.com. This is our, what's this? Can anyone tell me what's that?
Host, sir.
Okay, that is our host. Pero di ba sabi ko kanina, the host is defined by the IP address. Pero bakit host name to? Okay. Yung process ulit ng domain name service or the domain name services. On a domain name service, DNS, you register your IP address to a specific host name. So for example, the IP address of Facebook is 192.168.8.8. So basically, this host is 192.168.8.8. So siya yan. Ngayon, si DNS, siya yung nagsabi, client, HTTPS use or port 3. Certain application use. So SSH is 23. Telnet is 22. So sige, pag ano, bigyan ko kayo ng mga port numbers. Okay. So 443, your port number refers to the method and your path. Kung profile. Okay, profile. So that comprises your URL. This will be your URL, Universal Resource Locator. Let's continue. Ito pala. So, yun nga, yung HTTPS will, is your method. phcc.gov.ph is your host. 443 is your port, which is based on your method. And your path. Okay. Okay, the next issue being addressed by the application layer is services. So services defines type of message exchange between communication processes, in which these are the following. We have request or response, message syntax, message semantics, and rules for message exchange. So for this example, yan. Medyo mabagal. Okay. So, focus tayo lang. Focus po ang isang browser. Oh. Close ko muna. If I try to browse PHEC, then I inspect it. Then I'll go to the network. So basically, website, web browser have their own way to inspect a website. One of which is when you use Chrome and you right-click your browser and click the word inspect, it actually inspects the website you are browsing. So basically, when you browse a website and inspect it, there are many tabs you can use. Either you can have your elements. So when elements, this is how the current site is being yung mga codings niya, CSS na gamit niya. Then you have your console. The console shows you what error message or warning message kung meron man. Then sources. When we say sources, ito yung ano yung mga laman niyan. May plugins ba yan? May upload? Ano mga buttons yung ginamit? So gumamit siya ng JavaScript. So nag-connect din siya. Gumamit din siya ng fonts using Google APIs. So pinormat din siya using a government web hosting service, igov.ph. Then may mga footer siya. Kung ano yung mga footer. So that's the sources. So we have also network, in which this is the yung mga resources na na-downloads. Then for performance, click ulit natin para makita nyo. Okay. Pino-profile niya na. Tagal yan. So memory, kung anong ginagamit. What kind of application does that site uses? Security. So it's a valid HTTPS. Then you can see the certificate being used and what TLS is using. So it's using TLS 1.2 with EDGE RSA and IS 128. Ito, yung mga yan ay called encryptions. Kung anong ginagamit niya. And may recorder din siya. So basically, we will only use the network. Okay. So, kita nyo, status, ito yung binigay niya sa akin. So, status 200. So, when we say status 200, so what type? It's a document. Who initiate? Wala. Kasi ang nag-initiate naman tayo. So, how fast did we get that information? Queued information 8 point so we are queued, na-queue tayo papunta dun sa ano na yun, 8.22 millisecond. Then we are stalled 4.12 400 na to ha. Pag sinabi natin total content download, lahat ng information na load na doon sa website, it took about 925 milliseconds. So medyo mabagal. Mabagal yung site. Okay. Then, yan, nakita natin. It also downloaded the CSS. So, status is okay. The style sheet, kasi CSS siya, di ba? So, you can get as many information dito. O, yan, may lagran na mga JavaScript. So, status is okay. What type? It's a script. Then, ano yung nag-initiate? Yung index page. Nasaan siya? Nasa memory cache. Mabilis, 0 lang yung kanyang naging ano. So, depending on what information you can get here, ayan, pati mga logos, kung ano siyang klase. Yan. Maraming information that you can get inspecting a website. Okay? May question po? Ano naman? Balik na tayo sa presentation. Yan. Okay, response code. So, we have 600 response code. So, 100 to 199 is informational response code. 200 to 299, successful response code. 300 to 399, redirections. So, when we say redirection, kunyari Facebook, lumabas ka ng Facebook, pumunta ka ng Google. That's what redirection message means. 400 to 499, client error response. When we say 400 to 499, either your client, kayo, sa side nyo, wala kayong internet, so that will give you a 400 HTTP response code. So, client errors yun, kasi ikaw yung nawalan. 500 to 599, several error response. Ito naman, pag kunyari nagkakaroon ng bottleneck dun sa application nyo, it will give you a 500 error message. Server busy. So, ito yung website. Let's see. Ay, sorry. So, yan. You can see kung ano yung mga response code dito. You can browse on it. You can use familiarize. Pero commonly, ang meron tayo 304, 200, which is the okay. 304, ito. Pag 304, ibig sabihin naka-cache yung information sa browser mo. So, that modified. Ibig sabihin, kinash ng browser mo yung information. So, nang pinuntahan mo ulit yung resource na yun, naka-cache yung message. So, usually si Google mahilig sa ganyan, sa pagka-cache ng message. Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, if you're using multiple browser with Google, tumataas yung memory resources mo. Kasi ang ginagawa niya, ini-store niya yung cache. So, pag pumunta ka ulit sa site na yon, ang kukuhanin niya is yung 30 cache pages. So, 301 ang lalabas na code sa'yo. 404. 403, yan. 403 is forbidden. Ibig sabihin, if you are not authorized to access that resources, you will be given a 403 response code. And 404, if not found, ibig sabihin yung resources na yun is wala na doon. Not found na doon sa server na yun. And 500. Yan. For 500 internal server error, ibig sabihin yung error mo muna internally nagkaroon ng problema. So, hindi niya ina-identify kung anong klaseng error, but the 500 response code tells you that there's something wrong with your server. 502 bad gateway, if ever na wala yung route mo papunta sa server, the response code must be 502. So, pag 502, ibig sabihin, yung route papunta dun sa server mo is nagkaroon ng problema. So, you can easily identify na yung route ang kailangan mong ayusin. Service unavailable if ever nagkaroon naman ng problema yung service lang. So, when we say service lang, kunyari HTTP Apache, siya lang yung nawala. So, 503 response code yung ibibigay niya sa'yo. 504 gateway timeout if ever nagkakaroon ng bottleneck. Pero pag ni-refresh mo siya, babalik siya. So that's 504 gateway timeout. Okay, so those are some of the error message. So, yun yung mga response code. I suggest you, i-run through nyo lang. Okay. So, kung meron tayong response code, meron din naman tayong HTTP request methods. Kasi di ba may methods tayo. So, these are get, head, sa klasiko na naka-experience ng ang lumabas sa kanyang Wireshark is head. So, get is a representation of a specified resource with the response body. So, get and head is actually identical. So, kung sa Packet Tracer or sa Wireshark, pinahanap sa inyo yung get pero ang nakita nyo head, that is the same. Identical siya. So, next is post. Submit an entity to a specified resource. So, pag post, kunyari, nag-post ka ng message dun sa website. Then, click enter. That is post kasi nag-message ka. So, you post something. Then, option, communication option for the target resources. So, kung anong klaseng communication yung gagawin. And trace, kung meron namang mga loopback tracing lang. So, option and trace, actually, hindi ganong nagagamit siya. So, kita rin natin yung site niya. Let's see. Okay. Kita na po, these are the HTTP request method. Yan nga, get, head, post. Meron pa yan, put, delete, connect, options, trace, patch. Ayan. Then you have different browsers here. You can actually see if those following HTTP response code, response request method is present on those following browsers. Ayan. Okay. So basically all of the common browser for mobile, computer and mobile is compatible with the following response request methods. Okay. So layer 4 services used by an application. So reliability support. So applications such as email and file transfer are intolerant of data loss. So syempre when you are using file transfer, hindi siya pwedeng napuputol. Kasi once you have a intermittent connection or your file transfer is being nakat, uulit siya kasi the information will be damaged. Same with email. Okay, delay and timing support. Some application may have constraints in maximum delay or maximum delay jitter. So nakita natin yung jitter natin, di ba? So if you are doing online games with high bandwidth requirement and low latency and low jitter, so pag merong yung application nyo does not tolerate yung inyong jitter, kayo di ba minsan nagsiset kung ano yung maximum delay tsaka yung ano nyo. So kung masyadong mabagal, definitely your application will suffer. Tsaka yung gaming experience nyo will suffer. Okay, throughput support. The number of bit transfer per second is important for many network application. For example, you're using a fintech application such as GCash, Paymaya, and other online payment mechanism. You cannot have a slow throughput. Kasi input-output process system mo, there are many clients connected to your application in which pag hindi kinaya ng throughput mo, definitely magkakaroon ng problema yung application. And in which you will have a big problem kasi you're dealing with money. You're dealing with currency. So kunyari nagbayad ka ng kuryente using GCash, na-send mo na yung confirmation, biglang nagkaroon ng throughput problem yung server na yon. Hindi mo ngayon alam kung naka-pass through yung transaction mo. So most fintech application have a high throughput value. Hindi siya pwedeng nagkakaroon ng problema. Pero we have seen fintech application like GCash going down or going unavailable. So doon yung nagkakaproblema. Or minsan, yung iba nakakalusot yung transaction, yung iba hindi. Then kailangan mo pa tumawag sa support nila para to verify if your transaction has gone through or hindi ba. So bibigyan ka nila ng ano. So there are many problems with GCash nowadays kasi nga naging major player na siya in which we deals with our payment methods, bill, banking. Actually may bank na rin siya, di ba, yung G-Save in partnership with anong banko 'yon? Sino yung nagba-banking with GCash?
CIMB, sir.
Ano pa?
CIMB po.
Ayun, CIMB. So, meron din ako nun pero hindi ko gano'n. Yun, CIMB. So, mostly nagkakaroon sila ng problema sa... Wait lang po application ngayon, meron na rin silang digital bank, in which those digital bank requires a high input-output process, IOPS. IOPS refers to the throughput in which the system yung tubo, yung tubig yung dumadaan doon sa tubo, then yung latency mo yung haba ng tubo. Kung ang tubo mo hindi na ma-accommodate yung dami ng tubig, then security support. The transport layer can provide a security service. Example are confidentiality through encryption and data integrity through hashing. So, going through the example in mga fintech application. So, gumagamit din sila ng mga security such as encryption. And I don't know kung ano a complicated payment mechanism in which every block is created, tapos may security. Pag nakalimutan mo yung password mo dun sa block mo, dun sa wallet mo, wala na. So that's using cryptocurrency. So yung blockchain mechanism. Okay. So some application requirements. So for file transfer, it cannot tolerate data loss. Throughput, it's elastic. Basta hindi napuputol yung connection. Time sensitive, no. Kasi depending on the amount of data and your throughput, basta ang importante, you have no data loss. For email, the same. You have no data loss. The throughput can be elastic and time sensitive. It's not time sensitive. Also with web document, no loss. The throughput is elastic and it's not time sensitive. But for real audio and video, it's loss tolerant. Di ba pag minsan nagkakaroon tayo ng lag, nag-uusap, nagiging choppy, that's loss tolerant kasi nagkakaroon ng data loss. Okay, for audio, commonly it's 5 kbps to 1 mbps. And for video, it's 10 kbps to 10 mbps. Okay, but it's time sensitive. When we say time sensitive, pag lumagpas ka ng 100 seconds of a millisecond, di ba pag nag-ping tayo, lumalabas din yung MS. So if your MS exceeds 100 milliseconds, definitely you have a problem on your audio and video. Kasi masyado nang mataas yung iyong ping rate. Okay, for stored audio and video, the same. Kasi piniplay mo lang naman siya. Interactive games. I don't know kung mag-agree kayo na loss tolerant. Kasi diba, pag sa games, we don't want lags. Lalo na yung mga action games na ML, na pag nalag ka and natamaan ka ng kalaban mo at kaunti ka na lang, you're dead na. So, for interactive games, it's loss tolerant. Throughput, few kbps up. And it's also time sensitive, 100 milliseconds. Pag sumabra ka na dyan, definitely you will have your gaming experience magsasuffer. For instant messages, it's no loss. Siyempre, pag nag-message ka, imposible naman na makat yung information sa gitna. So, pag nag-message ka, dapat yung buong information na makukuha mo. So, no loss. But it's elastic. Pwedeng ma-delay. Commonly nangyayari yan sa mga Viber messages or Messenger messages. The whole message must have no loss, no data loss. It can be delayed. So that's what we call elastic in throughput. And time sensitive, yes and no. Bakit yes and no? Yes, time sensitive siya kung yung information is needed. And no kung mga casual lang naman. So yes and no. Okay. Ilan na ba ito? Okay, I guess we could stop here. we will just continue next meeting for programming network application. Medyo mahaba. So, do you have any more questions regarding our class today?
Wala naman po, sir.
Okay.
Wala naman po, sir.
So, oras na ba? It's 5:46. Let's meet 6 p.m. for your laboratory. So, thank you for attending today's class. Let's continue our lecture on next Monday. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you po, sir.
Thank you po, sir.
Thank you po, sir.
Thank you po.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you po, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.